Force tired.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
Why is the Force connecting us?
I'm a Jedi.
Always two Jedi. We're a dyad in the Force.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Force Diet Podcast. This is episode 55, and it is all about Ahsoka. We've got episodes 1 and 2, Master and Apprentice, and Toil and Trouble out this past week, and there is a lot to unpack. I'm your host, Obi Sean, joined as always by my best bud, Jedi John. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How we doing? How we doing?
I am good after struggling for an hour and 15 minutes with audio and video garbage.
I'm only 1 hour more tired.
I know.
Let's do it.
We've got, again, a lot to unpack. We've even got a fun little voice message from a friend of the cast that we'll listen through after we go through episodes 1 and 2. So we're just going to dive right in because, again, there's a lot to unpack. So episode 1, Master and Apprentice, we get the opening sort of new Star Wars logo thing that's come with all Disney Plus shows to date. And interestingly, everything is red, whereas normally they alternate the red and the blue. So that was interesting. And then we get our first, I'm pretty sure it's our first, Disney Plus crawl for a TV show, that is. And it's all red. It reminded me of, I don't know what you thought of it. It reminded me of Clone Wars Season 7, the Siege of Mandalore arc, with everything being redded out, which I thought was a really cool touch. But, I mean, the show really wastes no time. We get the introduction to Baylan and Shin aboard a Home One style capital ship. It wasn't Home One, but it was like that, right? And, well, to be frank, we've seen that hallway scene, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah, if all else fails, just put in a hallway scene, and it'll go fine. It'll just fine. I
loved the crassness of the captain in charge, thinking that it was some sort of like Imperial trash.
Well, not just that, but like you could see their saber hilts. Like even if they're not Jedi, like they have sabers. So like, I don't know.
It was one of those moments where it's the you F around and you find out, and it's that
he did it.
He did.
He done did it.
So of course they're there to bail out Morgan Elsbeth, who Ahsoka had apprehended, I guess, at the end of Mando, when they met in that town. And so bailed out Morgan, and take care of the crew, most of the crew anyways. I think we see a couple of them later on when Ahsoka meets up with Hera, but in any case, we pivot to Arcana. It's our first new planet with Ahsoka and I guess former Nightsister. We find out former Nightsister sort of temple doing a Jedi Fallen Order-esque puzzle.
Yeah, Prince of Persia, just figuring out the puzzle to unlock the key.
Yep. Reveals a star map, which is surrounded by, some sort of like thermite gunpowder, because Ahsoka then is confronted by those HK droids, which are awesome. I gotta say, I thought a lot of the practical effects so far have been really cool, especially like some of the droids like Hyang and stuff like that. Which we get him back, right? He drops in to pick up Ahsoka after she dispatches the droids.
Yeah, for those of you non-animation watchers, that's he was the droid that he's basically, you learn about him in the Clone Wars, but he was the one that traveled with the young Jedi to go find crystals and then helped construct all the lightsabers. And he has the knowledge of all built lightsabers by Jedi ever, just archived in his memory bank. So pretty cool.
Which is really cool. And so Ahsoka gets hailed by the fleet, by the New Republic fleet, which apparently is still helmed or at least led by Admiral Akbar in Home 1. So that was cool to get that reference. We get the first interaction with Ahsoka and Hera aboard Home 1, and we get the briefing sort of in the Return of the Jedi briefing room, which again, a lot of great Easter eggs, both for the original trilogy and of course Rebels.
Yeah, we could spend hours just on Easter eggs.
100%. So Ahsoka reveals she's found the star map and tells Hera, hey, it could lead to Thrawn. Hera's like, oh, hey, what about Ezra? And of course Ahsoka's like, I hope so. And
but I can't open this.
Exactly. So naturally, the one person who can happens to be Sabine, who is where we left her at the end of Rebels season 4, which I am proud to say I have finally finished Rebels. I did make sure to finish Rebels before I started Ahsoka. Not that is necessary, but boy howdy, it does help explain a lot. So, because it's a Chinese puzzle box. You could have said that, right?
Oh no, I just said, I could have.
But instead, I read it through the chat. But in any case,
you all are welcome for my inappropriate humor.
So we pivot to Lothal. Governor Azadi is doing a commemoration ceremony for Ezra, actually, with the mural, Sabine's mural there behind him. Again, with Azadi and Jai Kell, two nice Rebels callbacks. Naturally, Sabine is not there. She is peeling out of town on a speeder bike, and it's the first time we get Earth-like music, if you want to call it that, as far as the rock music's concerned.
Got some rock and roll,
which I thought was excellent for, again, her character. She wants nothing to do with the commemoration ceremony. She pieces out away from the security detail, heads back to the communications tower. We get some, again, additional cool Easter eggs within the old Ezra's old apartment. You've got the Loth cat, who apparently is her pet now. You see her helmet, a bunch of helmets like that Ezra would have collected, stormtrooper helmets, scout trooper helmets, excuse me. And it's then that she sees the ship coming in. She sees Ahsoka's T6 shuttle come in, and they end up meeting up. She explains, she being Ahsoka, explains that, they need help with the star map. It's here that we learn of their past relationship as master and padawan.
Tension's a little bit high.
There is some edge there. And,
I feel like just they both feel like they gave up, like the other one gave up on them. Mm-hmm. Both of them feel the exact same thing. So maybe just talk it out.
just hash it out, guys.
Just hash it out. You guys can do it.
It was the interesting thing to me was after Ahsoka and her discuss. Meanwhile, Hu Yang's trying to match up the saber hilts that they got holodiscs or holo recordings of from the attack on the ship, to try and determine who these people are. Sabine ends up taking the star map, which I have to say, she actually technically didn't do anything wrong, because in the actual dialogue, Ahsoka says the star map or the map stays here. She didn't say it stays on the ship.
Pretty sure it's a strong implication.
She implied, but she didn't explicitly state, because she says later, I explicitly said this. No, Ahsoka, you did not. You said it needs to stay here. And here is Lothal.
There's a technicality.
Technicality. So just want to point that out. But
I'll use that one in my personal life. See how far I get.
Don't use it with your wife. You'll never win with that. But your friends and stuff,
stay here.
You might.
I just happen to be on a golf course, which is here on this planet.
Exactly. That, you know what? give it a shot. My son would use that. He's gotten me on a technicality multiple times. But anyways, so Sabine takes off, but prior to that, we learn that Hu Yang does recognize Baylan's hilt, which is cool. He says it's the only one that he's ever seen in 500 years of saber crafting. So, but he doesn't recognize Shin's saber, which means that it was built post temple, right? Which I think we kind of assumed, but it's confirmed. Or I should say post Order 66. And then you get the discussion between Hera and Ahsoka on the ship about how she walked away from the Order, and then she walked away from Sabine. So kind of back to your point about them giving up on one another, it almost sounds like Ahsoka maybe instigated that, like she was the one to walk away from Sabine, probably because she didn't see a level of buy-in, I would guess, from Sabine that she was hoping. So Sabine takes the star map back to the communication tower. She manages to unlock it, and wouldn't you know it, she gets tracked by Shin, who is sent by Baylan to find her. I guess I totally skipped over the fact that we learned that Morgan Elsbeth's the Nightsister on Arcana, or former Nightsister, or she practices. I think she's a practicer. I don't think she's actually
I think
Nightsister witch.
I think she said she had ancestors, so that were potentially
right.
That's what was said.
Right, and she called herself a survivor, right? Which I took it to imply that she's not a direct Nightsister, right? Because I've heard people talk about, oh, well, why does she look like a human if she's a Nightsister, right? And I feel like it goes back to practicing of teachings versus being kind of blood related, so to speak. But we can talk a bit about that in our sort of breakdown later on. But so Shin tracks Sabine to the communication tower. The HK droids attack her, steal the map, and we get the saber duel at the end, which I really enjoyed. I don't know about you, but the way she takes up her Form 1 stance that she was taught by Ezra and Kanan, which, again, having just watched Rebels, I was like, oh, I recognize that.
She learned that.
She did. And naturally, though, Shin bests her in combat, stabs her through her right side. I don't know, probably just under the rib cage or just through the bottom part of the rib cage, right? Which sent the internet into a tizzy. And that's the end of episode 1. And then there's, of course, a touching tribute to Ray Stevenson at the end of it for our friend Ray, because, of course, we lost him earlier this summer. So Master and Apprentice, I think it was like a 50-minute runtime. There were definitely some slower parts in there. What sort of grade? We'll go into our grades real quick, and we'll do our IMDB reviews of the week before we jump into episode 2. What would you give the opening episode of the series?
It jumped right in, got me excited for Star Wars again. Even though, I'm always excited for Star Wars, but like watching the show, it immediately was just like, okay, we're in. I'm gonna give it probably an 8. I'll give it an 8.
Okay.
It's a little slow.
It was.
Slow paced.
It was slow. Yep.
But other than that, it was still a good episode.
Yep. I would agree. They did spend some extra time on a couple scenes, right? Specifically Ahsoka going through the temple, right? Her turning every individual disc methodically. Sabine's chase out of the city was extended with the discussions with some of the pilots and stuff like that. So I will agree it was definitely drawn out. I would probably give it like an 8.2, 8.3, just because unfortunately, a lot of the things that we saw, we'd seen before in the trailers. And so there wasn't a ton of new content, for good or bad, in episode 1, right? A lot of the big set pieces a lot of it was already seen. And I will say that the saber duel at the end, like when she gets stabbed, like for an instant, like I was like, oh, wait, hold on, what? And then I remember, of course, seeing in the trailers that, well, wait, she has short hair. So either there's a flashback or she's going to be fine. So it kind of took that away. So I'd probably do like an 8.3. So let's see what our friends on IMDB have rated it. So out of 7,400 ratings, think back to Bad Batch where we get like 600 ratings, right?
Not even that.
So out of 7,400 ratings, you've got an 8.1 out of 10. So not too bad.
We're on par.
Yeah. So we got 54 user reviews. Our good friend Posey Fan is back. So Posey Fan's got it at a 7 out of 10. Good start to Rebel Season 5. So he...
I'm surprised he knows what Rebels is.
So...
animation, and he hates that.
I know. That is kind of funny. Although, you watch Bad Batch, you watch Rebels, Clone Wars, etc. There is a distinct difference, right? But like having finished Rebels now, I love Rebels. It's fantastic, and I curse myself for waiting as long as I did to watch it.
I cursed you when you didn't watch it. I cursed you.
And that's fair. I deserve that. So he says he's pleased, overall satisfied with the first 2 episodes. Thinks the casting is great. Sabine is a standout. We'll talk about that a little bit later because there seems to be some differing opinions on that. But I personally think she's great, and she's playing Sabine exactly how Sabine should be played. Anyways, love the newcomers. Lightsaber fights are pretty good. Great setup for the rest of the season. 6 out of 10. 4 out of 10. Not an impressive start. Let's see. We've got biggest criticism is dialogue. Don't know if it's the acting or the directing, but the dialogue is awful, choppy, and unnatural.
Seem a little forced in some instances.
Sure. Okay. I can kind of understand that.
I also don't care about that though, but yeah, I mean.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I saw people initially were like, oh, this is everything keeps getting compared to Andor, and right or wrong. And the thing about Ahsoka is that it was never going to be like that. It was going to be a lot more like Mando and to an extent like Obi-Wan. Not so much Obi-Wan, but it's going to be heavy on the action story, less on kind of the overall writing, I think. But we have 6 more episodes to actually fix that, or not fix it, but address that. So you got a 5 out of 10, stiff and lifeless. There are a lot of complaints about the way Rosario is depicting Ahsoka as almost being uncaring and stuff like that, and so
she is uncaring.
Mm-hmm. Which I do think is a transition from what people are used to. She
spent 15 to 20 years being uncaring and fending only for herself. Except evidently she had a padawan for a couple years. But
right.
I don't know. I don't know. She didn't seem that caring in Mandalorian either. Just had one mission she was after. So
so you got a couple other ones that are like, stiff and lifeless, slow start, hopefully picks with the pace. Others saying that, it looks very promising. So it's a mixed bag, right? You don't have, it's certainly not panned across the board, and it's not glowingly reviewed either.
As it shouldn't be.
No.
I mean, we just expect that.
Hey,
you made a new Star Wars thing? Only 50% of the fans like it. Cool. We're doing great.
I still don't understand why people are like saying that Sabine is this one says 2 out of 10. Why is Sabine such an unlikable character? I don't, probably because you didn't watch Rebels. Maybe they don't
know. I'm going to guess I didn't watch Rebels. That's the only thing I can say. Like, you didn't watch Rebels.
So
you have no clue who she is.
But but anyway, so
why is he such a miserable? No, I'm just kidding.
she's so whiny. I've seen people who are like she's acting like a whiny teenager. I'm thinking,
Yeah, well,
kind of. You got to think about where she was and where she's come from in those, handfully in the last 10 years. But
and then what happened again? Yeah,
right. So anyway, so that's Master and Apprentice. Episode 2, Toil and Trouble. I really actually enjoyed the witch theming and the title there. But we pick up, of course, in the hospital bed, to learn that Sabine is okay, as, again, I think many expected.
medical advances have come so far.
Yeah, poor Qui-Gon, right? That's the whole complaint, right?
When was this invented? 30 minutes after you died. Oh,
the
great.
Bacta tanks. But no, I actually had no problems with it for a number of reasons, but that's not the point. So basically, Ahsoka learns from her that she managed to open the map, and then, of course, it was stolen. So got to try and figure out where they were taking it. Ahsoka manages to find the remaining HK droid at the communication tower, and severs its head. Sabine hacks it, and learns that it came from Corellia. And so while she rests and gets berated by Hu Yang off and on, that's got to be...
Oh my gosh, so great.
This is fantastic.
Sick burn. Sick burn.
Yeah, I have dealt with many Force users in the past, and yours is the worst. Thus, you have the least attunement to it. But anyways, so Ahsoka and Hera take off to Corellia, which is cool because then we get the Phantom 2. And I know there was some talk, I think, from episode 1. You can see the ghost in the hangar of Home 1, which makes sense. It's Hera's ship. But we learned that the Amnesty Program on
It's
Corellia,
still going well. It's going well all over the universe.
it's going about as well as you would expect. And I love the guy that they picked to be kind of the foreman for, I forget his name, but he is like in everything. And he's that squirrely character. It's fantastic.
As soon as I saw him, I'm like, this is a problem. This guy is a problem.
He is not going to be doing his job well. But the whole, requesting for a kind of a review, and Hera's pulling rank on him at every turn. And so they learned that Morgan Elsbeth's, I guess, former crew, former employees, what have you, are still heavily involved in the shipbreaking on Corellia to harvest hyperdrives for the New Republic fleet. At the same time, right, while this is going on, Baylan and Shin return to Cetos, which is where Morgan Elsbeth, through her Nightsister magic, reveals the location of, or the presumed location of Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is Peridia, the path to Peridia, which Baylan indicates was some sort of tail. It's a far off galaxy. It's not within the current galaxy. So it's our first sort of indication that there is a galaxy beyond the one they're in, which isn't new. It's just new that I think we'll be going outside of the galaxy, because at the end of Empire Strikes Back, when they're looking out the window, right, they see a galaxy off in the distance. So the existence of other galaxies is not uncommon, but the fact that we could be leaving.
Yeah, the fact that it's actually real, as
Right.
Baylan said, like, he's like, that's just a legend, like a story we told children, and very quickly undermined in that fact, like, well, legends were born of some truth. So pretty cool.
Yeah. And so again, so that's going on Cetos. we learn about the ship, or the craft that they're building, called the Eye of Sion.
Such an awesome name. Number one, awesome callback to Knights of the Old Republic.
Yes.
Like, so great.
Like, the second I heard, I was like, wait, hold on, Darth Sion? Because he's Legends. Like, he's not technically in canon, right?
Well,
And
he
so-
also was infused with Nightsister magic in order to, he used the Force to heal himself from
to
death
keep him alive, basically.
with magic.
Exactly.
Also, in addition to the Force, he drew magic.
Exactly. So that as soon as she said that, I was like, oh yes, Darth
So
Sion,
cool.
awesome. But anyways, so that's going on Cetos. Hera and Ahsoka discover, of course, that all is not on the up and up, and that they are in fact still working for the Empire. The poor excuse for I don't know, crane operator. I don't even controllers in the control tower.
They really wanted to die. Like, for the Empire, you're dead.
Yeah, toast.
You're all dead.
You're toast. I did love the discussion between the protocol droid, though, when he's trying to get out of declassifying the documents. Like, Hera's like, well, I'm authorizing this, like I'm pulling rank on you again, and the protocol droid's like, wait, no, I saw this droid come through. He's like,
I saw an HK droid.
I mean, why didn't you file? Because he told me not to. And it's like, oops. And he ends up hiding behind the protocol droid. So, but then from that, we get the duel with our first encounter, because we know that there will be at least another one because of, well, the ending and the trailers, with Marok, right? And there's a ton of speculation about who this person is. But speculation aside, I'm going to assume it's a he, but I'll say they are quite skilled in saber combat, in the duel with Ahsoka, and Ahsoka is a formidable swordsmith as well. And I mean, she dispatches, of course, of the remaining HK droid pretty easily, and all the while, Hera's chasing down the hauler, I guess, with Chop. And I love that scene with the interaction between her and Chopper. Like, oh, did you check under your spare battery? And as he's going through his junk drawer, and he's like, oh, I found it, and
He's like, did you move it? Did you go through my stuff? I didn't go through your stuff.
and he, of course, suggests shooting down the transport, which of course would crash into the city below, and he doesn't care, right? Chop has never been one to care about collateral damage.
What's collateral damage? Yeah.
So again, great to see our old friend Chop in his element. But Hera, being the amazing pilot she is, navigates them. They place the tracking beacon just before it jumps to hyperspace, so they can track it. And Shin picks up Marok. He escapes. And both, and of course, Hera and Ahsoka peel off back to Lothal. And it's here that we get Sabine kind of recentering herself. Again, another great callback to Rebels, and what Kanan does in Jedi Knight, where he is meditating in front of his eyepiece, the way that Sabine is meditating in front of her helmet. They both chop off their hair. It's a phenomenal, side by side.
Shot for shot callback, yeah.
Exactly.
Shot for shot.
So Sabine's got her short hair back. She's got her armor on. She's standing in front of the mural.
Yay, Mando, Sabine. Yeah.
It's what we all wanted to see, right? And so the episode ends with Sabine and Ahsoka joining back up, because now they know where they got to go. That tracker's taking them to Cetos. And Ahsoka, in the cockpit, Ahsoka lets Sabine jump them to hyperspace, after, of course, calling her, once again, her padawan. So all is right with the world, or at least the galaxy.
They still gotta hash it out.
They did.
Yeah.
They had a talk. They probably got some pumpkin spice lattes, and all is good.
ESG season.
So that's Toil and
PSL.
PSL. Pumpkin spice latte.
PSG, PSL.
I mean, it's August. I mean, it's definitely fall.
That's what I was thinking the other day.
I mean, it wasn't just 117 degrees last week, but
Yeah, as I was sweating through every T-shirt I had.
oh man. But anyways, so Toil and Trouble, episode 2. What would you give it for your rating?
I'll go 8.5. It was solid. It was a solid all-around episode. I didn't really have any like real gripes, you know. We got some more world building as far as like the Amnesty Program. We got to go back to Corellia. For those of you that refuse to watch anything but the main trilogy, we went there in Solo.
Yep.
That's where we first met Han and Kira.
Well, that's where the Millennium Falcon was built.
Also,
it's a Corellian cruiser.
It's a Corellian freighter. But yeah, overall, 8.5 sounds good. Not a whole lot I didn't like this episode. Mostly likes. I wish they would have torn up the entire factory trying to escape. But they didn't have to, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that there wasn't a whole lot of outside of the people in the control tower. There wasn't a whole lot of fight, back as they're getting arrested by the New Republic. But to jump on or to play off that, I guess I'm not surprised at how weak the New Republic security force seems to be. Right, like between episode 1 and episode 2, like. They're just like a security force in appearance and not action, right? Like
it's literally mall cop. Like they are mall cops.
It is Paul Blart Mall Cop, but in space.
It is the worst thing to watch. Every time a New Republic officer's on scene, I'm just like, that dude's an idiot. Probably don't listen to him. Probably don't listen.
So
nothing good's gonna come out of it.
No, absolutely not.
They should have built battle droids.
They would have been better off. I don't think the First Order would have taken over as easily. But anyways, 8.5. So you got 8.5. I think I enjoyed this episode a little bit more than episode 1, just because 1, there was some newer stuff in it, and the. Like you said, kind of the backstory building, which I kind of like in my shows. So I'd probably give it like an 8.6. So I'm kind of in that same ballpark as you, 8.5, 8.6. So IMDB, with 6,400 ratings, has an 8.2. So it's slightly above episode 1. So how many? Let's see. I got 27 user reviews. Where's our boy Posey Fan? Posey Fan. There. All right. 7 out of 10. Definitely locked in for future episodes, but it wasn't a perfect start. So,
I think he knows we're watching.
I think so. But you got 9 out of 10. The journey begins. 7 out of 10. Pretty decent. Let's find a 6 out of 10. Nobody should be able to survive a lightsaber wound, or that lightsaber wound. No, nobody should be able to survive a singular lightsaber wound.
Seen a lot of arms get chopped off. Just saying,
chopped in half. It's fine. Just a flesh wound. 4 out of 10. The best writing I've ever seen before. Gonna sense sarcasm. 7 out of 10. The entry was average, and I'm a little sour about it. Oh, sorry.
I have a Twizzler.
I doubt that a new audience that isn't familiar with Ahsoka and the Ghost Crew will have an easy time getting into it. Not because it is complicated, necessarily just vague when it comes to the characters and their history. That is true. I mean, if you don't
know the characters,
it's going to be hard to follow and understand what's going on. That is
can't cover 5 seasons of a show. I mean, they just can't do it
exactly
in 2 episodes. So
I mean, that is 100% accurate. And watching it with Kara, she's like, this is cool, but I don't know anything that's happening. And it's like, yeah, and I try and fill her in on the important bits, but it's like, yeah, you don't know these backstories and everything like that, and it does help a lot. 3 out of 10. Our heroes knowingly, willingly, recklessly risk detonating a bomb inside a city hospital. Duh, it's Sabine.
Is that a problem?
It's Sabine.
She doesn't care. She believes it. She's confident. She's just confident. She's a confident woman. I don't understand why people bothering her.
I did love Hera being the hologram in that room, and they're like, what happens if you overload this, right? And she's like, oh, it'll explode. And Sabine goes, should we do it? And Hera's like, I think we should. And Hu Yang's like, of course you do. You're a hologram.
Yeah.
You're not here. So yeah, 2 out of 10. This show has Kathleen Kennedy's stench all over it. There's another one of those. 7 out of 10s again.
Oh, you mean the EP on it is might have a word, maybe a word.
Andor, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Boba. So yeah, I mean it's a mix of things. Again, some people complaining about finding it hard to follow because they don't necessarily understand some of the backstory. Some people complaining about the lightsaber survival again. What are they
worried about the lights? Oh, the saber. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I want to see what
I thought they were complaining about how'd she even have his lightsaber? She has a lightsaber at the end of Rebels,
Sabine?
She had it.
Yeah,
she had it.
He
literally handed it to her.
It was literally given to her.
Here, take this. Thank you.
So I'm trying to read this one that has the Kathleen Kennedy stench all over it. So first thing says.
No, if I want you to read it.
Well, so this is interesting. So it says, how much can you actually retcon? It says, wait, Sabine was Ahsoka's padawan. Can you run that by me again? Okay. I don't understand why that is so. I kind of want to talk about that. I don't understand why that's such a hard thing to grasp. The only thing we don't know is when it happened, right? Because Ahsoka is stuck in the world between worlds at the end of Rebels, or she's not stuck there, but she's stuck on Malachor, in the Sith, in the old Sith temple, right? So what we don't know, although it's probably explained in one of the books or something like that, how she gets out of that, right? And then re-ups with the Ghost Crew. So that's the gap. I don't know why it's so difficult to fathom.
Because people don't have an imagination. They can't fill in the blanks between series, Sean.
So it goes on to say that the acting is horrible, the casting is abominable. Abominable. That's not a word. Abominable is a word. Hair is so bad it's distracting. Disagree with that. I actually think Mary Elizabeth Winstead is playing Hera in a way that I would expect Hera to be played. Again, in the minimal amount that we've seen her. The writing, look at the quality. And anyways.
This is why they went on strike.
That's exactly
stuff like this.
That's exactly what it says. It says, and then
No,
you'll
it
understand.
does not.
I swear to God, hand to God, it says, look at the quality of writing in the show, and then you'll understand why the writer strike has become the laughingstock and punchline of the internet. It is right there in that write-up, and it is not a laughingstock. I mean, the writers and actors need to get their money. With the advance, with everything about it, like if you actually do any sort of research on what they're fighting for / against, I mean, it's existential, and I'm all for them getting what they're owed, especially in the age of streaming and AI. I mean, it makes total sense. So, so yeah, much like episode 1, episode 2 has a mixed bag of a number of things. So let's kind of do some breakdowns real quick. We're gonna play this. It's a 4-minute thing, 4-minute voicemail from a friend of the show, and then we'll kind of talk off of it because there are some talking points that we haven't really dove into yet. So here we go.
Howdy, Obi-Wan, Jedi John. It's your podcast listener friend, RFB, RuralFarmBoy. So you're fixing to record for Ahsoka, which I'm looking forward to listening to in my playlist. I gotta say, everybody, we were all looking forward to. We weren't ready for what we're getting, is my opinion. And I know we're only a quarter of the way through. We've got six more its parts with this series. 6 more to go, and 6 weeks is welcome to take its time going on by. Because I can't believe we're already sitting at the tail end of August. It's like where'd March go? But anyhow, Ahsoka, just wow. And I've heard some criticisms from other friends in my playlist and pod library over, I want to say, nearly the past week now. I've probably heard Ahsoka more than I've seen it, as was the case with all the other series that we have or have been given. No, for me, you know me, I go in and tell me a Star Wars story. You're telling me that's Hera Syndulla? That's Hera Syndulla. The one that nabbed me the most so far is Natasha Bordizzo as Sabine Wren. She's a show stealer, in my opinion. And to quell a couple, some folks are still trying to figure out who and what Morok is. I'm curious, maybe at one point he had a brother number in the Inquisitorius, where for now, maybe we'll find out that he did, and maybe we won't, and either way is fine. But some folks there's a few folks everybody wants to know who he is. And some folks are latching onto this idea that it could be Ezra Bridger, when plainly it cannot be. And I've posted this numerous times in the Twitterverse. It's painfully obvious why it cannot be Ezra Bridger, because Morok is in the galaxy. We saw him on Corellia. And Ezra ain't in that galaxy, because now we know he's in, who would have thought this, a completely new galaxy. I knew about that because I follow spoilers. I just don't share them. Yeah, which apparently this new galaxy is called Peridia. So Ezra can't be in our galaxy as an Inquisitor if he's not in the galaxy. Like I said, very obvious. But looking forward to just where this is going. Among them spoilers I follow, I've heard how the season winds up. Which I would think that once the writers and actors strike is over, the way it winds up, absolutely, in my opinion, warrants a second season. But we'll see how that goes. Get the folks the money and the pay and the healthcare and whatnot they deserve, and make the studios do their job. But yeah, looking forward to, I miss you boys. Everybody's been taking a break, and now my pod library, at least for the next 6 weeks, is filling up quick. It's been a rough few months of really thin listening. I made my way through. And incidentally, I know way back in March, you asked if I ever want to come have a chat. I'm still up for it. If you boys are, maybe we can put that something together after Ahsoka. Because right now it's going to be all about that. And then I don't know that what we're getting anything. But looking forward to Force Dyad. Get you boys in my playlist. Miss you. Looking forward to it. And until then, may the Force be with you. See you on the radio.
Thank you for that, RFB. Really, really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. May the Force be with you always.
So, and yes, we will definitely have to get you on the show here. Maybe we'll have you up for an Ahsoka breakdown for one of the episodes. We've got plenty of time to do that. But, it brings up a couple interesting talking points again with Sabine, and we kind of already talked about that, her casting. I mean, do you agree that she being Natasha, is playing Sabine how you would expect her to be played?
I mean, I guess from my point of view, I mean, you would hope catching up, 20 years later, not quite 20, but, catching up over a decade later, she would have maybe matured a little bit. But obviously she may have matured a little bit, but she also has not buried things from her past, and very, very obviously hasn't let go of that Rebels crew. um, especially Ezra. So, and in some way, I'm sure for some reason she blames herself for what happened with him, even though he knew ahead of time. I mean, he recorded it ahead of time, you know. So he knew. But yeah, no, I think she's doing just fine. I think, I mean, I'm not upset with her being in the role, so not a problem for me.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement. I mean, one of the things we don't know is, you know, what all she had to deal with during the Galactic Civil War, right? Because I doubt she would have probably taken a back seat to it. You know, whether it was directly involved with Hera and them, or if she ended up going back home, or I say home, but back to be with her family. You know, that she ends up actually, you know, reconnecting with there in season 4. I think that as someone who is longing for that family, right? You know, because she talks about how her family's, you know, had turned her back on her, and how she refound family with the Ghost crew, and then to probably, as she sees it, get sort of cast aside, or at least given up on by Ahsoka, I would be probably salty and sour about that also. So, in that respect, I think that she's covering things, or she's portraying things how I would expect her to. But the other one is Maruk, and who is this Inquisitor of sorts? Again, I agree with RFB. I don't think it's Ezra. I don't think it can be Ezra.
I don't think it's possible.
I mean, it would necessitate him, obviously, you know, forget location for a second. It would require him to turn to the dark side.
Which I'm not going to rule that out.
True.
Per se.
True.
But to go the route of an Inquisitor,
right,
is way off brand. You know, he fought against them multiple times. So I don't see him turning dark side, sure. Turning to an Inquisitor,
right.
No, and it would have been kind of after that time. You know, like he would have came back and the Inquisitor program would have not been a thing.
Yeah, the Inquisitorius is gone for all intents and purposes, right? Obviously, with the Empire or the Emperor and Vader being dead for now. For now, it's no more, right? And so, and if they're on the same ship, you know, sure. And I saw an interesting, I think it was New Rockstars, hypothesized, you know, maybe Thrawn convinced Ezra from a certain point of view and all this stuff. I don't know how you would go about turning someone the way that others had been turned, right? The Inquisitorius tortured former Jedi to turn them into Inquisitors. I don't know how that happened. So, I mean, the short of it is that I don't think it's Ezra. I don't think it can be Ezra.
Yeah, because if it was Ezra, Thrawn would also be back. Like,
right. I unless he's playing the long game, which Thrawn does, and he doesn't want to reveal himself yet. But to have it be Ezra, like, you want to talk about a character assassination? Like, I mean, he shut out the Emperor when he was offered his family back, you know, there on the Chimera, and you know, he turned away from it when he could have had everything he wanted. You know, the thing he longed for, he pushed back. It's like it just doesn't make sense. So, I you know, personally, I don't think it's somebody we know. I know that's an easy kind of cop out. The cool thing about the name, right, is, well, one, we've already seen it before in Star Wars, as it's Embo's sidekick. Maruk is a wolf, right? Maruk is a medieval story about werewolves, or a werewolf. It's a medieval tale, and Maruk is the name given to this this werewolf character. And so the tie-in with wolves, I mean, it's classic Rebels between the Loth Wolves and, and Ezra, which again is why a lot of people think it is Ezra, but, Filoni's affinity for wolves and everything like that. I mean, it's just the perfect name. But I mean, a werewolf is a shapeshifter, right? So, if it were to be somebody that we knew, I couldn't even I couldn't even hypothesize who that might be, because nobody really fits the mold this late in the game.
Boba Fett. Just
there it is.
Out there.
But it's Grogu. He's grown up.
Oh, already.
He's grown up. So, because this takes place after, it definitely takes place after season 2. Do we know? I don't know if we know whether it takes place after season 3 or not, but naturally I digress. The last thing that I kind of want to cover, or at least kind of dive into, and I kind of want your thoughts on it too, is we have a lot of references to the ancient people, the star map being an obviously ancient thing. The tie-in directly with the Nightsisters, of course, and a far-off galaxy, faraway galaxy. So my question to you, because I have my answer, and I have some evidence, I think, to support it, at least loosely, is who do you think... who do you think is either charted this path before, or... I guess, who do you think these ancient people are, if they're not just Nightsisters? Or have you thought about that?
I've thought about it. Just in order to find the path, and not just the path, but there's gotta be a reason to want to go to a place like this, right? So we obviously don't know what all is there. We haven't heard necessarily the legend, right? But obviously it's something that Jedi passed down to other Jedi, and younglings. So I would guess, you're old. I'm going to go back to High Republic time period, even the Old Republic time period. But we're talking about very, very powerful Force users, probably seeking either other Force users or, I don't know, legend. So they were seeking something. So that's, because those, from what we've read and know about from comics and books, they were the lead explorers as well as peacekeepers in the galaxy.
So
can I name individuals? No, I'm not. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Who? But
it's probably never going to be revealed, right? It's
right.
Probably not even going to be revealed. It's just a fun sort of thing to hypothesize.
But I expect Force users on both sides of the dark and light. Because if the legends are getting passed down on one side, they got passed down on the other also. Because obviously Morgan Elsbeth also knows about it. So in which case the dark side users obviously talked about the story also. Potentially with more belief behind it than the Jedi.
Right.
But may have been diluted or something. But yeah.
So, do you remember when this was? I think it was Bad Batch episode 4 or 5 when we talked about the gigantic mega mech, right? Who left the mega mech that they found the treasure, the treasure box, right? The heart, the heart, and they took it out, right? The shape of it, right? Being sort of, I don't know, circular in shape. And how I talked about, the Zepho and the Celestials, and how the Celestials eventually became the ones once they moved, once they came to this galaxy. And the imagery in the Arcana Temple of the 3 presumably Nightsisters, right? All holding orbs, you know, of course, the relationship to the ones in the Jedi Temple on Lothal, right? So you have relationship there, right? But I think a lot of it has to do with the Zepho, for a couple different reasons. The number 3 is keeps coming up. There were 3 Zepho sages, and this, you know, they were an ancient people that would have come before the Nightsisters, like specifically. But one of those sages in particular built a temple on Dathomir, because if you remember in Fallen Order, we get to obviously go to Dathomir multiple times, and the Astriums, as well as the Astrium that is actually hidden on Dathomir specifically. The inner core is a round ball that is very similar to, it's not a star map, you know, I'm not going to say it's a star map, but the Astrium was used to open the temple on Bogano, right, which eventually led to the holocron that eventually led to the rest of the Jedi, the Force users. Excuse me. So I think that there's some sort of combination, and I kind of talked with Keith about this when we were waiting on you to watch the episode, is that the 3 sages, the 3 beings, you know, the ones, like, I don't know if it's going to be a combination of the 2. I don't know if this is going to be them sort of bringing the Celestials as a like a world builder into canon, because to get from a far galaxy to the current galaxy takes tremendous machinery, manufacturing, that sort of stuff. And if you look at legends for the Celestials, they were known for their great works, and I think I mentioned that in that previous episode, so I won't necessarily go into that, but whoever it is, you know, has utilized significant hyperspace travel. Obviously, the Purgo being the first sentient species to, I mean, they have it sort of built in. The Rakatan, as far as canon goes, is the first sentient species to actually harness hyperspace travel. So whoever did this, whoever built it, or whoever set up this, you know, this pathway, had to have some level of knowledge within, with hyperspace travel. So I don't know. I think it'll be, like I said, I don't think it'll ever be revealed in this show who these ancients actually are. But I think it extends either back to, for example, like the Zepho, or beyond that further to the ones and, you know, at the beginning, the Celestials. So the last thing, and then we'll wrap it up, is where do you see this series going for this, you know, for the rest of the season?
Oh geez. Well, you know, I assume we're going to see some Ezra action. Thrawn, all that fun stuff's going to just pop in there. So it's man, it's so tough just to give my outlook on the entire season right now.
Put you on the spot
because there's a lot of different ways, ways here. Gosh, that's, man, you're killing me here. I didn't think we were going to theorize the entire season, like the series.
Well, you don't have to. Just so look at the next 3 or 4 episodes. Don't. I mean, the biggest thing is, like, you know, we only have 6 episodes left, so I imagine they're going to catch up with our friends. I mean, they tracked them, right? So that's one thing I hope it doesn't become, is just forever we're going to track them. Yeah. We're just gonna
follow them.
Point to point fetch quest. Yeah.
So I hope that's not what we get, but it sounds like, I mean, they're getting to the point now where they're like, oh, they're going back to this system where obviously we can get back to it. And we already know that's where the map is to be read. And I can't wait for the face off between Ahsoka and Baylan. I mean, he obviously knows who Ahsoka is quite well. So it'd be very. I can't wait just to hear them. They're going to talk during the duel. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Because they're both at some point in their Jedi life have been conflicted. I will say everyone's saying that they have orange sabers. They looked red when on first watch, but I guess they are orange.
They're orange.
Sabers.
They're red orange.
So like because on the rewatch, I paid more closely attention, and it was definitely a deep orange, but it's orange. So I'm curious to see, what kind of happens once Ahsoka gets involved with them, and because even like when Shin's asking him about what's Thrawn coming back mean, and he's like, for some people, power, and for other people, war. So, and it's just an interesting take for somebody that is very much paid by one side right now, so to speak, because we do know he's a mercenary. So when push comes to shove, where his allegiance lies will be interesting to see. I think we're gonna get a rematch for Shin and Sabine. That's just baked in already. Like episode 1, they had a showdown and Sabine lost. Episode 7, Sabine's gonna get back in the action against Shin, and we'll see a different outcome. I think it might be the finale also, but I imagine 7 will be Shin and Sabine versus the finale will be more Thrawn centric. I assume.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see certain things that I know are going to happen, whether it be in a trailer or just in purely like, I mean, I'm reading the room, so to speak. Like certain things are just going to happen, and I'm excited to see them, and I hope we do see them. So, yeah, that's it for me. I'd love to see Zeb. Can't wait to. I mean, I'm sure we will. That's just it. Like, there's so many things I want to see. That, like, I know a lot of podcasters and YouTubers did their bingo cards and stuff. I'm like, my bingo card is full of just things I want to see that I have a really good feeling I'm gonna see, but I'm excited to see it. So back to you, though. What do you think? Where do you think we're heading?
Well, so I think we get the duel on Cetos next episode, right? Between Ahsoka and Baylan and them fighting in the shroud of the map. In the map. Which I remember when we first saw the trailer, we're like, oh, is that the world between worlds? And no, not quite. But yeah, the showdown between Sabine and Shin, I hadn't considered sort of a rematch. It'll be funny, actually, if in a 180 from Rebels, if she does resort to her Mandalorian training to defeat Shin, right? No
reason why she doesn't. She's got the gauntlets now.
Exactly.
She's not taking those off again.
Which she did use to, at least briefly, take on Kanan. And we don't know the extent of Shin's training. Obviously Kanan was, I would wager, I guess, to say he was more skilled, at least in saber combat, than Shin is, but I guess we'll find out if we get to that. I think that we're going to get, as far as Thrawn is concerned, right? We know he's going to end up on the Eye of Sion because we've seen him in that space. So seeing Morgan Elsbeth there, at the end of episode 2, you're like, okay, well, he's obviously going to end up on this ship. Again, thanks trailer. And that's my biggest gripe, is that so much of it was kind of
They gave a lot of cutscenes in the trailer.
That's like my biggest critique is.
But granted, like, it may not happen because they don't put everything. They throw. Some
I guess
stuff,
they
like,
could have cut that out. They could have cut.
Here's a scent. Here's some scents that leads nowhere.
But going off of what RuralFarmBoy said in his voice message, his voice memo, is based on what he's seen or has heard, anyways, that it leads into a season 2, right? So what would a season 2 look like? Right, is Thrawn gets away, right? And it's a quest for Thrawn. And so the question
Thrawn
is,
or the Shadow Council.
well, Thrawn has to unite the Shadow Council, right? So, right. So that's the thing from season 3 of Mando is they're like, where is Grand Admiral Thrawn, right? Because nobody knows. Meanwhile,
that gives you your timeline.
Yep.
There you go.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I do think it's got to be post, or at least somewhere in season 3 of Mando, although it could be directly after it. I'm not sure, but yeah, you would think if they had the map at this point, then that there would be some knowledge, and it'll be interesting to see how that merges, right? Because Elsbeth being like an acolyte of Thrawn's, right? Would he consider betraying her at any point? I don't know why he would need to, but I'm trying to think about who you lose in this season. And I feel like like you don't have many to lose on the Rebel side, right? You got Sabine, Ahsoka, Hera, maybe Zeb, if he shows up. Then on the other side, you got Baylan, Shin, Thrawn, Marek. I think Marek dies at some point this season. He's easily a throwaway character unless he happens to be some big reveal, which I really hope they don't do that. Anyways,
I just don't know who would. I mean, I've thought about some. I've read some theories. I've looked at some stuff, and I'm like, there's just no reason to make him anything outside of, maybe he's one of the Knights of Ren that comes around. Like
sure. I saw somebody who was like, because Sam Witwer's credited in the. They're like, oh, it's Galen Merrick, and I said, no. I said if that was Starkiller, Ahsoka would have been toast on that platform. There is no way Starkiller loses to Ahsoka. I'm sorry, it's just not. He killed Vader twice and the Emperor once. I mean, it's not happening. So and he ripped a Star Destroyer out of the sky. Like, I'm sorry, like it's just not happening. So, but
with his bare hands.
just give it to me. So yeah, so as far as Thrawn goes, I think he's going to escape right back to the current, like our normal galaxy, and I think that's he's going to escape into the unknown regions, which is Chiss space, excuse me. And I think it's known, or should be known anyways, that that's where the First Order and the Imperial Remnant end up sort of reforming, is in the unknown regions with the help of Thrawn. So like he has to get back, right, to help set up the First Order. Like that's the thing, is like he has to come back this season. Like he has to get back to the galaxy this season. Now how he does that, that's the question mark, right? Who has to die or get pushed out of the way to get there? I don't know. I feel like Shin and Baylan could easily be dispensable because they're mercenaries. And the whole Norse mythology with them being named after the wolves that bring upon Ragnarok and devour the world, devour the sun and the moon and destroy the world, so to speak. I mean, they could be the ones that bring the harbinger of the downfall of the New Republic and the rise of the First Order, right? The two of them are the ones who do it. So, I don't know. I'm excited for the last 6 episodes. There's been a lot of stuff to kind of unpack, from Easter eggs to like long-term theories. I kind of like the more puzzling aspect of things that's not as straightforward as it seems. So I don't know. I've been very pleased with the first 2 episodes, and I can't wait for the next 6.
I agree.
So I think it's been a good discussion. I think we'll close it there. Thank you again, RuralFarmBoy, for sending us a voice memo. If you listened to that and you enjoyed, us kind of talking to some of his points, feel free to email us a voice memo. We would love to incorporate that in parts of our discussion. So
I think that'd be fun.
That would be fun. It'd be kind of like a mailbag.
Yeah, listener mailbag segment.
So again, if you enjoyed that, feel free to send your thoughts and comments as well for our next discussion. But with that, we're going to bring this episode to a close. If you do enjoy the content, please consider sharing, liking, subscribing, etc. You can find that information in the show notes. But for Jedi John, I'm Obi-Sean, and until next time,
may the Force be with you.
Force,